Welcome to Section 31, episode number 281. I am Dan Hammond.
And I am Rogue Schindler.
This week is going to be a light show. There was a 2E errata that came out, and we'll talk very briefly on, maybe not more than a sentence or two. We have a animated series show to talk about, which was, I thought, interesting. Next week, we have a local 2E tournament that it is unlikely that one or both of us will be at, unfortunately. And looking ahead, next weekend is a local rocket race, so that's probably why I'm not going to be at the 2E event. I've got things to do, and I'm glad the camera is not pointed down at my desk. Otherwise, you'd see the clues splayed out with big red lines and edits to make. But anyway, that's where I'm at. What have you been up to last week?
Moving my camera does not help change your angle. That's too bad.
No.
Well, I just forcibly put away all the 1E, actually, and 2E Trek cards that have been sitting in sorted piles waiting for me to sort back into binders because my cat jumped on them and spread them all over the game room.
Wow. This is a big pile of sleeves that used to be 2 1E decks, or one of your 1E decks, that is been put away back in binders. So I'm doing the same, kind of going through these piles over here, trying to get to the bottom of them. Last time I went to make a deck, I was looking for what's the name of the Starfleet guy who's backwards compatible that has all the skills?
Oh yeah.
Is that Maximum Forest?
Yeah, Maximilian.
Yeah. Right. So I had apparently played Mirror Starfleet in 2E at some point because he was in a pile of cards to be put away somewhere, and I was down to pulling out the signed copy that you guys had given me. You had given me a long time ago. The only problem with that is he wrote in thick Sharpie right over the game text. So
no.
And it's like, it's been a while. I really couldn't tell you what it says. So, but eventually I did find the real copies. But that was kind of the impetus for start putting things away. I've now got a bunch of Magic cards in my deck because we've been playing with dragons. But I've got a big pile of 1E cards that are unsleeved over here. I've got half a deck full of sleeved 1E cards over here. I've got a couple of Worlds promos that need to go into the next raffle. There's a war. But yeah, cleanup continues. So there was a errata to a second edition card. I know that rate's really high on your list of things you care about. It's the jewel of the game.
I think there are plenty of cards from 2E that needs errataing.
Chula of the game used to say, when a dilemma whose title begins with Chula is revealed here, randomly select da-da-da-da-da. Now it says, when your personnel are about to face a dilemma whose title begins with Chula. So the shenanigan before was you would uninvited or something for a card that you couldn't play, or you would draw up, I guess that would be cheating. You would draw a bunch of dilemmas, and maybe one you only had 2 to play, but you had a 3-cost Chula card. You could throw it down knowing that it would be overcome because it was overcosted. But previously, as soon as it was revealed, it says Chula in the title, so it stops somebody. Now,
wow.
Now it's when you're about to face them, so you actually have to be able to face the Chula dilemma first. So I understand that that was kind of a wonky way to play it. I don't see the well, I don't know. I haven't been playing as much as others have. Maybe Chula of the game abuse was at the highest levels at Worlds, and that is why this has fallen out. But I guess we'll see. Maybe this will get us another Chula dilemma or 2 going forward to bring the power back to the deck a little bit. Heck, maybe another 0-cost Chula dilemma, so you could do the same thing. Just it would be faced. I don't know.
But it'll be only that one.
Yeah, maybe just a game that says, Chula, he's about to open up the box. It doesn't actually do anything, but it costs 0, so you can
just no game text.
Yeah,
it only works with the game. That would be awesome.
Chula, corks cheating, something like that. All right. So that was the 2E news. Nothing new on the 1E side. We've been promised something. At the very least, just some codification of the 1E kind of pseudo errata that came out for the transporter device, the multi-dimensional transporter device. Did you see that change?
No, I was actually curious. Well, while we were looking through the cards, I kept expecting to see it because that's always the biggest complaint I got for, a decade against playing people who weren't familiar with the Mirror Universe was how crazy broken, and I'm not really disagreeing. that multi-dimensional transporter device was, and I kept hearing rumblings that was going to change when crossover came out.
So it looks like it dropped. It came out with the crossover supplemental set. It was in crossover supplemental with different text. So if you look at the mirror card, it still has the original text, which says allows transporters to beam to opposite quadrant anywhere within corresponding location or region. The new card says twice each turn, where present, allows transporters to beam to opposite quadrant anywhere at corresponding location, ignoring all shields. So now you only get to do it twice per turn, and you can't go to any place in the region. You can just go to the opposite site or the opposite location. How
twice per turn, maybe. To opposite quadrant anywhere. Oh, at corresponding location. Okay, so you can still. So if you're at Bajor, you can still go anywhere at Bajor if you have a station at Bajor and a station at Bajor.
Yes, but you can't go to your outpost in the Darius Belt or whatever.
Right.
You go over there and attempt a space mission.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous.
And then beam them back, and then over there, and then over there,
yes.
and over there.
Beam from this Bajor region mission over to Mirror Bajor and over to the other end of your Bajor region.
Yes. I mean, you could still beam twice per turn. I really thought that was going to go away, and it was only going to be a once per turn thing. But I guess that kind of follows the show. The opening act, somebody beams over, grabs somebody, and then beams back again. So, okay, twice per turn. That's sensible.
Now, how does that work with the cumulative rule? Because it's not a number. It's not like a phaser where you're trying to add total up things. So if you have two away teams with different multidimensional transporter devices, they can each go twice, or you can use each device twice.
I have no idea. Phasers say cumulative, so you can use as many as you want. I would say not. I would say that just like you can only use one of your two copies of Make It So to unstop a ship, this has a limit of twice per turn, so you can't. It doesn't matter how many copies you have.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you just keep one around in case somebody's overloading.
I would say so. Yeah. Now, it's been a long time since I've either played against or paid attention to someone playing against or playing this card myself. If I've got people in the mirror quadrant and I want to send them to the alpha quadrant, I can use this to beam them away. Do I have to have another copy in the alpha quadrant to beam them back, or do you beam the equipment with them when you send them away?
Well, let me ask you this. If you have people on a ship and you want to beam them down to the planet, do you have to have transporters on the planet to beam them back up to your ship?
No. But this says you can beam them to the opposite quadrant, not from the opposite quadrant.
I thought it said vice versa. Or the old one did.
No.
Where present allows transporters to beam to opposite quadrant. Yeah,
you can take it with you though, right?
Yeah,
so
I mean, I just
yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I remember having this conversation, dozens of times, and which just led me to carry two of them around everywhere.
I think my problem was, if it's sitting in the, as you say, if it's the ship in orbit, it specifically says beam. But if you're beaming your people, you just take it with you, and now you can beam from your quadrant to the other quadrant. You just take it with you again. That makes sense. You do that.
Because I remember, I think it was somebody who I thought should know, like, I want to say Jeremy Commander or somebody used that analogy, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But then it kept coming up, so I carried around. The only thing that I can think of that counters that is really, like if you go Trek sense wise, they beam over with it, and then they're like, okay, I've got my gun on you, but hang on, I gotta plug this thing into your transporters, so we can get back.
I think the only thing would be is if I've got this in the mirror quadrant, and I've got people in the alpha quadrant that I want to get to the mirror quadrant, I'd have to beam over there and then beam back with them, and that would be my 2 per turn. It was irrelevant in the past, because you do it as many times as you want, but now you would have to. That would be your beaming that turn.
yeah, that'd be your whole use of that.
All right, but it still allows you to basically play Bajor and station and play people over here, play people over there, and then when you want to go do something, you just take them all and you beam them from all the different sites, right? You can still do the stupid, I'm going to beam from this side to this side and that side to that site to get around the walking rule, right? At least once.
Well, once, yeah. But you still, it's not crazy. Like you could, it's like I'm going to use the same guy to, process ore and then be at ops and then play Dabo and then come over here and get on my ship and, or get on my ship and then come back and play Dabo.
All right, so maybe this is much more of a restriction than I thought it was.
All right, I think it is.
Yeah.
Between the location and the iterations, only being able to do it twice. I would definitely put the wormhole back in my deck. I wouldn't just rely on this to get me back and forth. If I were relying on going to another quadrant.
Yes, which, as we've seen, there are plenty of missions to do in the mirror quadrant now that you can, I don't want to say easily get to 140, but you can not worry about it quite as much, right? Now that there's space missions, you don't have to get to 180, and so just go for it, right? Just hang out and play in the mirror quadrant. Maybe there'll be somebody else to fight with. Have you looked around at any of the cards? Anything else that you're looking forward to jumping in on? I know we talked about a bunch of the new ones last week, but anything else jump out of you?
I was going to go print them out, and I got really excited when I was sorting my cards back into my binders, and I pulled out. I've actually had a Terran Empire section for a while, but I pulled them out and sorted them into got ready to sort them into a full new Terran Empire section and a full new KCA section, and then I just didn't get my printouts done this weekend. So I was planning on plotting and scheming on that at that point, but it hasn't happened yet.
I did something. I went to the Staples, the office supply store, and I brought in my my USB card because most printers now allow you to print from a USB. So I brought in some of my nice paper and I tried like 4 different printers, and I put in my nice paper. I told it was nice paper. I printed the file because I'm looking for a new color laser printer, right?
Yeah.
So I brought a sheet of crossover. It was mostly missions. I think there's one page that has 7 missions and then 2 objectives on it. So I got a couple of copies of that. At various quality ranges. I was going to bring them back and compare them to some of these cards that I've got, like this first stable wormhole that looks like amazing. I think they look a little yellow, the prints that I got. I printed on a couple of HP printers. Unfortunately, the Canon printer that it was suggested by someone else that I try, it was not plugged in, but I stood in front of it pushing buttons because they had printed out a little display and then slid it under the screen so it looked like it was on, but I couldn't get the touchscreen to respond. And I looked over and it's like, oh, well, it's on. Someone had flipped the button. It wasn't actually plugged in. Anyway, I'm going to make a trip out to Fry's, hopefully this weekend or maybe on Thursday, depending on how things go. And I'm going to try printing a bunch of other things. On the side, if you have some nice paper and you want a quick printout, maybe a page or two, just walk up to an office supply store with the USB key and just hit print from thing and then prints right out. I was doing it to test printers, but or you could just pay 50 cents a page or something at FedEx. But
I would not go to FedEx before you're talking about FedEx Office.
Yeah.
The store that formerly known as Kinko's. I went and I got whatever the last Tribble set was done there right before Gen Con and was not pleased. The quality was not what I'd expected, and I had it done on the nice paper, and I was like, can you do it on your nice printer? Like, no, all of these printers are the same quality as the printers that are back there. I'm like, are you sure?
There was a set that we released. It was a 1E set, and I'm sure there's someone else like me who knows this, but it was one of the 1E sets that we released, and we had a release kit. The release kit had AI alternate affiliations, AAs.
Oh yeah.
I think it might have been Emissary. Now that I think about it, because I want to say it was the Quark, the Cardassian Quark was one of the cards. But I took them to Kinko's to FedEx with my paper and had them print, and they were noticeably not as good.
Inferior.
Yeah, and it wasn't even printed at their printers. It was printed in the back because this is before I started using the self-service stuff. I said, I want this on nice paper. I want this, because it had to go in the kits and was ready to go. I think I paid, 50 cents a sheet or whatever. And it was not as good as, let's say, the industrial printers at various actual offices across San Diego County. How's that?
I think that's close enough.
Yeah. So, that's why I was looking for something of my own. The last one I tested, the HP, the one that was one step up, it looked pretty good. Had I not had this nicely printed stuff, I think from again a high quality office printer, I probably wouldn't have known any better. But now that I've seen how good they can be, like, nah, not good enough. Not good enough.
No.
Try again. So like I said, I'm gonna make a trip out to Fry's and see if I can do some printing, because that Art does such a good job on the 1E cards and the 2E cards and the triples cards. I feel like I got to print them on the nicest paper.
Yeah, I want them to look good.
I want them to look good. I want them to look as good on the paper as they do on the screen. I mean, I've got 2 doorways here in front of me, an alternate universe door and the first stable wormhole. And at table length, there is no difference between the two of them, except the AU door has more wear.
Wow.
I mean, it's spectacular the way that these cards look, and how well we can print them nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's astounding. The colors are crisp, the dark, the blacks are black. Anyway.
I was confused for a moment when you mentioned Staples, because I have actually had my prints done there at their print service, and they have actually had really good quality. So if you're looking for somewhere, either you or you, the listener, I've had much better success there. A bit of a wait, but their quality is definitely worthwhile.
Right on. I will check it out next time I'm in need. Very good. So we've talked a bit about the last crossover set that that leads us to cats in the background. No, it leaves us to actually the cat wasn't in the background. This is the first episode I don't think Maress was around of the animated series.
Oh, right? Yeah. Well, you don't want her to be cat-sized. That would have been funny.
So this was the Terran 10 incident, I think. Terratin incident, right?
Because it was Terra 10.
Terra 10, right. This was an interesting sci-fi episode.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yes.
I mean, there was a interesting sci-fi premise. Something was happening. They had to figure it out. They found a solution. There was something going on in the background. They solved that. There was an inexplicable phaser firing, which I don't understand at all. And then, everything was happy at the very end.
I think that was to get them out of the ground, maybe, but I don't know why you would need to do that if you're beaming.
I don't know. I thought it was just to build dramatic tension. You would shoot them, Captain? Yes, I am. Maybe they were stopping some kind of lava flow or something. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe they needed to shake them free of the rock. I don't know. I thought that was dumb. Yeah. What did they do that for? But they beamed them up. So they're flying to this planet flying to the system to do a survey, and they get a call, which they figure out is actually something and not something, random. They go check it out, and they start later we find out all the organic material on the ship, which I'm wondering, were the carpets shrinking too?
Unclear.
All right. Everyone starts shrinking. My favorite part was when they first noticed it, when people in engineering had these great big tools. And Scotty said something like, "What are you doffed over there?" And then they keep shrinking, and by the time in 20 minutes they're going to be so small they can't operate the 1960s panels because they've got huge buttons and sliders, right? That was the first thing I thought of. Well, if this was our TNG episode, would they just be able to touch things and they'd be okay?
Except they'd slide off of those smooth, tilty consoles.
We'd have more compound fractures like Sulu got from falling off.
Yeah. Why don't we just... And they never go back to, like, he's arguing to fire the phasers, and it looks like he's setting a timer like, well, what harm will it do if we just set this to fire in 5 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever? And it's a little dial turning that knocks him off. And they're like, oh my god, you fell. Let's treat you, and completely ignore the fact that we just set the phasers on a timer. That's not important. We're just gonna pretend like that didn't happen.
No, that's irrelevant. It probably didn't actually fire because I there was so I kind of asked you a leading question, knowing the answer that this was in fact a science fiction episode. What do you think overall?
I really liked the premise. And I thought it could have been a good episode. It was all right, but it was really it was. I guess the angst was magnified by watching it next to my scientist wife, who was just groaning at all the really bad hard science. And it's like, oh, they tried, but they failed really, really spectacularly. It's like, oh, but they're like the molecules are closer together, and that's why we all, we have the same mass, but we weigh the same.
That's what people believed.
Sure, and that's like I kind of try to say. He's like, well, you got it's just in the same way that you have to kind of take the effects with a grain of salt, and pay attention to the story. You kind of have to do that with the science too, and it made okay, if they could have glossed over that, like, well, why are we shrinking? It's like, oh, technobabble. We don't actually know why, or let's not try to pretend like we're going to make up science. We're just getting smaller.
Molecules are shrinking. That's fine. I believe it. There's a lot of space, so that was kind of an interesting factoid that he threw out. The amount of space between et cetera, stars in the galaxy. Sure, I'll believe that. I don't care if it's right or wrong. I'll believe that. If he hadn't gone any further than that, that would have been fine.
Yeah.
But yes.
and the apparent convenient presence of lab animals in sickbay now.
That was hilarious. I instantly thought back to the Enterprise episodes where they had, random
yes
imageries there. Like, wow, that's interesting. And okay, I can understand. They never had the budget to actually put animals in the real sick bay, and now they can show that part of the lab. Maybe I'll go with that.
But no, we're going to have this just so that Nurse Chapel can fall into the fish tank and then somehow be heard screaming, even though she's clearly underwater in the image. But then they cut back to her, and she's somehow made it to the surface and is screaming again. And is rescued by Captain Kirk, who conveniently finds a threaded needle lying around sickbay.
Maybe McCoy was sewing. Maybe he was going to suture somebody. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was a suture. I was surprised that he was able to throw it in her arms and not actually impale her with
a
spoon that he lobbed her way.
Is he going to like skewer her and then drag her to shore? They're in sick bay. I suppose they could heal her right away. She did just go get the little micro laser knitter thing.
Wow. Yeah. So there was a lot of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids humor, watch where you're stepping. For the love of heaven, be careful where you step. I liked, interesting that, okay, let's say they are shrinking and some weird technology is making it happen that is foreign to them. Well, the transporter wouldn't know how to put back together shrunky dunk atoms, so maybe it puts them back together in the right space.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not the worst use of the transporter to solve the problem I have ever seen.
And I have to admit, about 10 minutes before that, I had been thinking, wow, man, it's too bad they don't have future Scotty, or, Dr. Pulaski or someone, because they've done this about 13 times across various series where something is wrong with your biology, so we're going to beam you and then beam you again, and you'll come back as your old self.
The twist, well, and I say twist, even though this was probably the first time they used it. Maybe they might have done it in TOS, but they beamed him down not expecting it to work or not even having any idea that it was going to happen. And he got down there, was like, oh, hey, I should put this in the transporter notes for every future series because this totally works. And I like when he beamed down and he had that tiny communicator, I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, oh, that's kind of
Yeah,
cool. I like that. And originally, in the split second, as I'm thinking about how they're going to use this, are they going to show them start shrinking again, and that's going to be the key to, I'm getting bigger and I'm getting smaller and smaller, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and But no, it just being down. He was the right size. Uh, I, there was a lot of interesting things going on. I never
yeah.
felt that there was a slow panning shot of Scotty singing. I
No,
well paced.
no wasted time, definitely. And I liked I could have used a little more time on the whole background of the city. I liked that it was like just this lost colony of humans who had gone off and just because this, and they kind of throw it away as technobabble at the end, and I would have been just fine if they had done that with the whole thing, where it's like, oh, these waves, these weird waves that are causing everything to shrink, are natural here. And so we just found ourselves that way, and so we had to adapt, and we created our own society. I thought that was all really cool, and I could have done with a little bit more of that. And now that you mention it, and I kind of thought about it at the time, but at least I didn't notice, so that was good. But I think it would have been cooler if Kirk had started shrinking again. Been like, he got a reset button, but he's still, on the clock.
Yeah.
And, he's still got to go and get all this done. Maybe he was, and he was just done so quickly that, we don't get a chance to notice. But, some cool concepts, I think, in this episode, put together fairly well. Certainly a better episode of this particular series, I think.
Yeah. No, I couldn't find anything really to complain about. There were a lot of interesting shots of, tiny people on chairs, and what the 3x3 guy. What's the name of the
Eric's.
Eric's and Sulu on the on the makeshift ladders to get to the. That was great. Just little things like that. I thought I thought it was very well done. So I would rate this very highly. This is probably one of the best episodes I've seen so far. Interesting science, maybe not all correct, but interesting science fiction. Yes. A good moving story, and it even left something to go back to if they wanted to. They can go back to Tiny Town, and well, I guess technically they could just. No, okay, no, wait a minute. Why didn't the people get big when they beamed them up?
That's a good question. Oh no, they say, this is under the science things, that initially the waves, like the founders, the original settlers generations ago, got shrunk because of the natural waves, and then they had to build their society. But in the interim, it has become a genetic trait.
Okay. All right,
so now they are just genetically that size. They do mention that in passing.
Yes, I do remember them saying that. I don't know. Okay, well, you know what?
Again, hand wavy science.
If they covered it, that's fine. I won't bother. I won't be bothered by it. But yeah, this would be that would make an interesting future place to go. See if they said we're going to put them on a plane that gets plenty of water. I'm like, man, if that floods a little bit, they're in trouble.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
They're tiny. All right. No, anyway, if I'm going to give any episode so far the maximum number of stars, 4 out of 4, I would give this to it, because it kept me entertained. It was an interesting story, and I want to know more. I want to know more about what happened to the little tiny colony. So that like I said, good rating for me.
Agreed. Now, how do we? What would you adapt as a card? I feel like we have to have some kind of shrink ray, like a dilemma. A planet or a location.
Something where I want to say it would be a planet dilemma that plays on a ship, and
so you have to have it a dual mission, or hope to play it at a dual mission,
or just either. Well, we've got that new dilemma that makes planet mission space.
Exactly.
That would work, and then maybe there's a countdown, and if your people start losing strength or something, because they still have the integrity. Yeah, put them in stasis when their strength goes to 0, and then time runs out and they're gone.
Yeah,
they're lost underfoot, squashed, or something like that.
Oh, for the love of God, Captain, watch where you step.
uh, I didn't I didn't have a problem with James doing the extra voices. I didn't notice. He's
No,
getting much
no.
better, I think. Um, and Nichelle Nichols was two people. I didn't notice the other person she did. Uh, and James Doohan was Gabler. Was that the other engineer?
Or I think it was the leader of the tiny people.
That was
Lilliputian.
Mendad a turn.
Was that?
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, I was not put off by any of the voice work. All the acting was good. Good show, I think. Yeah. No. So yeah, Dilemma that slowly whittles away your crew somehow, or maybe just keeps adding staffing requirements to your ship, and when you can't staff it anymore, they're gone. That'd be cool. Oh yeah, something that just adds a staff icon every turn.
Ooh.
As soon as you can't staff it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, you gotta have extra
Maybe put
transporters.
your maybe quarantine your ship.
Yeah, because you can't call for Starbase help because you.
Yeah.
Their weapons disabled all the crystals. I think they beamed up and they had the little tiny crystals.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to bring over another ship and beam more people over or beam people up somehow.
Yeah. All right.
You can't just play people to the ship. Yeah, fun. I actually, despite the bad science, this was a fairly satisfying. Satisfying. I don't think I've used that adjective to describe any of these episodes. I think this would be the first satisfying episode of Star Trek that I've watched in the animated series.
All right, I'll call that a win.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to discuss today then?
Well, I have one last thing that I was just listening to on a podcast about today. And it is Trek related, I think, and game related. So I think some of our listeners might enjoy hearing about this. It's a fun little game called Lasers and Feelings.
Lasers and Feelings.
Which is apparently based on or inspired by a song by the Double Clicks, which is another nerdy band. But it is a little one-sheet. You can actually you can Google Lasers and Feelings, and it'll take you to, it's a little fast role-playing game. It's got one sheet of rules, and it's basically Star Trek. It's goofy sci-fi Starfleet adventure. You have everybody, you make a character in 4 steps. You have to pick an adjective for your character, and their choices are alien, android, dangerous, hotshot, intrepid, savvy, and sexy. And then you choose a role: doctor, envoy, engineer, explorer, pilot, science, and soldier. So you can either pick or you can randomize, and those are your characters. And then you have a random feeling. You pick a tech that you're good with, and you pick a feeling that overwhelms you, and then you go. And there's a couple of tables to roll on a random space adventure threat.
I'm ready to roll. I got a D6. Ready?
Yeah, hit me.
Alien brain worms.
Okay.
Want to pacify a quantum tunnel.
Ooh.
Which
what will it do?
Destroy a solar system.
See, there you go. You got that's a sci-fi Star Trek-ish role-playing game ready to go.
Man, the next time I need a mission for one of my sets, I'm just rolling on this table.
I will play the Intrepid Envoy. Intrepid Envoy? That sucks.
All right.
Yes, go. We should do that so we can talk to the thing and the people.
Well, I've got the hotshot scientist. No, wait, hotshot pilot. Ooh, that fits.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
No, scientist. Sorry, I rolled 5. All right. This looks interesting, and I think the next time we have a random Friday night, we should play it for 10 minutes and see how it goes.
I agree. I think I'm gonna print this out and bring it on Friday.
Perfect. Oh, that's right. We're gonna be on rainy day schedule, aren't we?
We are.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
All right, but that's it. I thought that was a little fun thing that folks might want to try out, and we can report in on our escapades if we get a chance to play it this week. In the meantime, we will have somebody else report on the tournament that's coming up this weekend and hopefully get some more crossover news. So with that, I think we're all wrapped up. Yes?
Agreed.
I am Sir Rogue.
And I am Sir Dan.
And I will remind you all to expand your feelings in the universe.
And I will destroy the void crystals, which will reverse time to end.